Hello, everyone. Most people hear the word personal injury and they automatically think it's only car accidents. Car accidents is one part of personal injury, and actually, it's the biggest category of personal injury. But there's so many other categories that fall into personal injury law. So let's talk about them one by one. Personal injury action refers to an incident where somebody gets physically and or emotionally injured or harmed because of somebody else's careless slash negligence action or intentional action. First, we have the motor vehicle section, which is car accidents, truck accidents, bus accidents, motorcycle accidents, bicycle accidents, pedestrian accidents. We also have what's called premises liability action. Those are slip and falls or trip and falls that occur on somebody else's property or premises. They generally include when you slip and fall at a supermarket, shopping centers and malls, or in apartment complexes. Next, we have animal attacks, which obviously are dog bites and dog attacks. Then we have burn injuries. I'll give you three examples of cases we've handled or currently are handling. One is we had a 7-year-old kid who unfortunately fell into an open fire pit and sustained major injuries. We currently have a case where our client was asleep in her apartment and the apartment caught fire and she got severely burned. We also have a Starbucks case that when our client was severely burned when the coffee that she ordered spilled on her as she was going through drive-thru. What about workplace injuries? They can to a degree. When you get injured at work, you have to go through workers' compensation if it is available. That is the law. Now, what if you get injured and there's no workers' compensation insurance? Then you can sue your employer under personal injury cause of action. And also, if you get injured at work, but the injury was caused by a third party's action, not a co-employee or your employer, then you can also go through a personal injury action. Here's an example. You drive for Amazon. You're driving to deliver a package one day and a negligent driver slams into you, right? So you can get workers' compensation because you're working for Amazon at the time of the incident, but also you can sue the other driver under a personal injury cause of action. Other categories that fall into personal injury include products liability. That is when you use a product that is defective, either because the design was faulty or because that particular product by itself was faultily manufactured. Medical malpractice cases also fall under the purview of personal injury cases. That is when a healthcare provider unfortunately does something that does not meet the standard of care, and because of that, the person gets injured. Then we also have wrongful death cases. That is when somebody unfortunately passes away due to somebody else's negligence or negligent act. You can see these a lot in major car accidents. There are other types of cases where somebody can get emotionally harmed but not physically injured. I'll share with you the facts of a recent case that we handled where our clients were emotionally harmed but not physically injured. We had two sisters whose father had been buried in a particular grave. One day they find out that their father's grave had been moved without their consent or permission because the location where the father was buried had been pre-sold to somebody else 20 years earlier. The problem this created was manifold. One of them was the fact that they did not know where the father's body was buried, so they had to find a new location. And more importantly, they were scheduled to bury their newly deceased mother alongside with the father. But in order to do that, they had to exhume the father's body to make sure that it was actually the father's body before they could bury the mother's body next to the father's. So as you can imagine, having to open your father's coffin and having to identify a body that's been decomposing was very emotionally disturbing. If you're not sure if you have a personal injury action or not, the best thing to do is call a personal injury attorney and discuss your case with them, and they'll be able to tell you if you have a valid case or not. I've been doing this for 27 years, and I can tell you we've handled all sorts of cases all throughout California. So if you just want to give us a call, we'll be more than happy to discuss the facts of your case with you. My name is Mason Roshdian, and we meet our clients by accident.